that man opened his own doors in life, and who I learned from. And I learned from my mother, and I always tell people that I have my mother's heart and my father's brain. And I still make mistakes. I still make a lot of mistakes, right? But you learn to pivot, and you learn to adapt and overcome, and that even though you still make mistakes, right? That ability to pivot and adapt and overcome and move forward and break barriers and keep going, keep climbing, right? And I tell people I'm always climbing the ladder of life. I take breaks on the balconies of life, because you got to take breaks. I've been taking some big mental breaks lately, and those breaks are important. And those breaks redefine you, refocus you, pivot you, and etc. And then when I looked at the word equality for all, and the background that I have, and I kind of said I come from the hood, and a lot of individuals that I know in life ended up doing time. Those that know me know that I worked in institutions. I ran institutions, and I ran into a lot of individuals inside that were inmates, and I was the correctional side that I grew up with, or I knew of, or etc. Right? An association, because working at bars, that kind of stuff. And the lifestyle, and I still remember this one individual had said to me, "How did you get out? Like, what did you do different? Like, why am I an inmate and you're an officer?" Right? And that was a conversation. It was a meal line conversation, and that equality for all. And I want to talk about upbringing, surrounding, and foundation. These three key terms here. When I think of equality for all, and I've said this before, everybody that I know that has, they earned it. It wasn't given to them. And even if you think people that are born rich and rich families, that kind of stuff, I guarantee you that those children are taught to earn. It doesn't matter how much they have, they're taught to earn. Those that are successful. Right? There are spoiled children out there, they don't become successful. If you pull away the carpet from under them, they fall. Right? And then there are those, you can pull, there's children out there from very, very wealthy parents and haven't touched their parents' money since they're probably 18 years old, 19, 20, because they made their own way through life. And how do they do that? Because they were taught. They were taught how to earn. I opened my wallet when I was 8 years old, and I've said this before in previous podcasts, and my father, a new wallet that I got, and I asked my father to put money into it, an allowance, and he looked at me, and he told me that I'm gonna earn it, and I'm gonna get up in the morning, and I'm gonna learn to earn it, that he's not putting money into my wallet. And and that right there at that time, right? But it taught me so much. Hence why on his 80th, I celebrated his birthday at our house, and I thanked him for being hard on me, for raising me hard. And those that were raised hard will understand what I'm saying. There are girls out there that are come from very wealthy families, and they're not taught, right? And like I said, pull the rug from under them, they fail. And there are those that I know, everybody that has, whether they came from the hood or came from the ghettos, or came from a strong family, or a middle class family, or upper class family, or a rich family, and then they all earned it. They earned it through equality, right? So I want to talk about equality for all, and that's what I talk about equality for all, because we live in a society now that a self-entitled, fragmented society. And that's why when I started Equality for All was for that reason. We need to bring it back to center. We need to find balance. And this fragmented society of self-entitled, they want what you have without earning it. Or if you have, you're evil. Or let's tax them more and go after them more because they have. Right? And that mindset it's a unproductive mindset, and all those types of societies fail with those mindsets. They all fail, like a 50-year cycle. They fail those mindset societies. And when you look at the word equality, it's defined as a state of being equal, especially in status, rights, and opportunities. And it talks about values, talks about abilities, and when you look at the definition of different ones and keywords, right? Like equal in status and rights, opportunities, values, abilities, and all those individuals that I knew throughout my lifetime, whether they came from the hood that did really well for themselves in life, or from any walks of life that I've met, that I've earned, right? We all had the same thing. We all had the equality, the status, the opportunities, and I came, like I said, came from the hood, like being French growing up. I've had jobs where French jokes was like a lot of people would have walked out after a while of hearing the same joke 6 trillion times, right? But you participate, you engage, and you can go through things. But because of my upbringing surrounding foundation and being and socially developed, like there's people, the social skills they don't have, and there's people that are, we live in a society now that we give jobs to people that they shouldn't have, but because they meet a certain criteria, because they fit in a certain box, or they fit a certain agenda. And that's a society we're in now. And so there's upbringing surrounding a foundation, and all these equalities that I talk about, and all the individuals that I know that have, and it doesn't matter of race, doesn't matter of religion, doesn't matter of background, doesn't matter which wealth or unwealth they came from, that they all earned it. They all earned it because we all have that. If you're Canadian and living in this country, I don't care if you come from the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, right? And there's a lot of individuals that I know that are of color, that are of a certain ethnicity, that are a certain background and religion, and they all did well. They all did well because they had good upbringing surrounding a foundation. Because whether the foundation was their parents or strong nurturing minds, part of the village that raised them, the community that raised them, a foster parent or something, a strong family unit, right? The upbringing, all those key ingredients is what makes you in life. And what makes you, and I said this before, like I've screwed up, I still screw up, but I've learned to pivot, I've learned to adapt, I've learned to overcome. Right? I've learned to adjust, and I tell people that know me that I climb the ladder of life. I'm constantly climbing, and I take breaks on the balconies of life because sometimes they're very important to take to breathe. I did a big mental break recently, right? It was a good one. It was a good one, and now I'm climbing again the ladder of life, right? But because of that upbringing surrounding a foundation that I was given by my mother, I have my mother's heart, I have my father's mind. And because that foundation that I had with my siblings, and because of the roots of the hoods and that kind of stuff, and the quality of family and surrounding, and trust me, we had a fragmented family also, right? But it was still a family, it was still a nest, right? It was still a fabric, there was still an integrity. And so bringing it back to center, this is where the self-entitled world that we're in right now, we're in a, like, it needs to come back to center. we this whole like giving out everything and free everything this and free everything that, and through taxation that, but everybody's paying for it. This is why everything goes up, because at the end of the day, all these services that the freebies, the everything, handouts that we have, all comes out of your pockets at the end of the day, because it comes right back, right? It gets paid by somebody and it comes right back. It comes out of your pocket. If you look at your overhead, look at all your businesses, look at what you used to pay and compared to your salaries, right? It's unbalanced now, correct? And it's because we're so fragmented in this self-entitled society that fails to understand that people that have and people that produce, that they actually produce economies, they produce jobs, and they stimulate the world. Those individuals have earned it. They earned it. And this attack on the rich or attack on the companies and the corporations and that kind of stuff, right? Instead of focusing your attention on those that extract without giving, because the people that you constantly, the self-entitled world out there that goes after these companies, that kind of stuff, they're the ones that actually produce for your community and give back to your societies, that kind of stuff. Not the ones that are constantly taking money out of lobbying money and taxation money and fee money and giving to all these organizations that are ripping apart our fabric. And that's exactly what has transpired in the last 3+ decades. And when I look at equality for all, and I define the word equality, all these things here were available to all Canadians, right? And those I felt that there wasn't, there was other systems and avenues available to them. And to achieve, but if they didn't have a good upbringing surrounding a foundation, if they got marginalized because we have so many people that have children that shouldn't have children, right? But they keep having children, right? They keep having children, and then these children become the societies that we have, this fragmented, self-entitled society. So if you're gonna have children, right? These key things, like I saw a sign the other day, like this house, we scream, we yell, we cry, we laugh, we bond, we forgive and we forget and that kind of stuff. That's what upbringing, surrounding, and foundation is inside of a nest of a family. And that family, it could be, like I said, it could be both parents, one parent, no parents raised by somebody else. Right? There's a lot of great people out there that were raised with no parents whatsoever. No parent, and they are providers and earners of society, right? Because somewhere they had an upbringing, surrounding, a foundation. We need to bring it back to center. We need to balance your societies again. And this mindset of you're attacking the wrong people. You should be focusing your attention on those that are ripping apart your fabrics within your societies. Jean-Guy Bourguignon, EFA153.